Hello and welcome to Inside Sports, presented by Meritus Health Urgent Care and Total Rehab. I'm Wes Decker, and today it's the culmination of the fall sports season. It's our 2015 Fall Sports Award Show. Herald Mail insiders will be joining me as we move through today's show, but I get to hand out the first award myself. And I'm not going to build a lot of mystery on this one. In golf, the first sport to finish its fall season gets the first award today, and the winner is Smithsburg sophomore Brett Bail. Bail had a tremendous season that he capped off with a 155 total at States, a two-day total that gave him the best mark by any county golfer there. Not only that, he was 23rd overall in the state. During the course of the regular campaign, that is the regular season that included tournaments, a 38.69 scoring average, again, best in the county. In addition to his placing at College Park, his highlights included a third-place finish at the district championships and an eye-popping season-low 9-hole total of 33 at Beaver Creek earlier this season. According to his coach, Tyler Fairley, nobody was more consistent on the links this year in high school golf in the county than Brett Bail. While Bail missed wearing the crown last year by about that much, this year, he regally dons the crown as Inside Sports Golfer of the Year. Congratulations to Brett Bail. Up next, volleyball. Stay tuned for that.
When your family is hurting, you don't have time to wait. Act now. Visit Meritus Urgent Care on Pennsylvania Avenue. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Meritus Urgent Care treats minor conditions like earaches, sore throats, and sprains. Meritus Urgent Care also offers x-rays and sports physicals, and many prescriptions are filled on site. Located off Interstate 81 on Pennsylvania Avenue, visit Meritus Urgent Care. Expert care, close to home.
One, wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. One, wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier Martial Arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Welcome back to the show. The volleyball awards are just ahead, but first, if this sign was any indication, Smithsburg's quest for its second straight 1A state championship and its sixth in 7 years promised to be a feeding frenzy worth watching. And right from the start, Smithsburg made sure the upstart McDonough Rams, who had posted 4 consecutive upsets to make the final opposite the reigning and defending champs, weren't going to crash its party. Before the popcorn could even be passed around, the ravenous Leopards just kept gorging their side of the scoreboard, bounding out to a 17-2 lead in the opening set on their way to a convincing 25-5 1-game-to-none lead. Set 2 featured more of the same as Smithsburg chewed up the Rams 25-9 to seize a commanding 2-0 advantage. In the third, the potential closeout set, the Leopards fell behind 7-4, but then roared back to forge ahead 9-8 before gnawing off 14 consecutive points en route to scoring 16 of the match's final 17 to fulfill a voracious appetite that could only be satisfied by capturing their 11th state title in school history. For a program where tradition never graduates has become the mantra, I asked Elena Black, one of the team's 5 seniors who will graduate in June, having secured a state championship in her last match, what she'll remember most about last Friday.
I think it was definitely the moment with the seniors on the floor and, Lauren. And I just think that I will remember that forever. To think that this is the last time that we're ever going to play together. And, not only do we play volleyball together, we're best friends, We hang out outside of volleyball all the time, and just to know that this is my last time playing with these girls, it's just such a sad feeling. But to see them all on the court with me, that was just probably the greatest moment. And to know that we were going to win and I was going to win with, 4 of my best friends, that was just the best feeling ever.
While this one was a little extra special for Black and her band of best friends, they're certainly no strangers to the thrill of victory, having won an incredible 68 of the 78 matches they played together in their high school careers. Perhaps that invaluable experience is why fellow senior Lexi Spickler said the approach to their last match was no different from their first.
Well, we come into every game just like every single one. We come in with the same mindset that we have a job to do. Like we came in every single game in the playoffs against Boonesboro, against Fort Hill. We have one job, and that's to come out with a win and get to this point.
This point being 3 state titles for the seniors. I asked Megan Moran just how much fun this last championship run has been.
This season's been definitely one for the books. Every practice is so much fun. You know, like we're always joking and having a good time, and there's so many inside jokes, and I'm just like so happy like all the time coming into practice, you know, because I get to see all my best friends and just practice with them and play volleyball, and it's so cool. And like bus rides are super fun. We're always singing and getting like really hyped all the time. It's so fun. And then to win a state championship with all of them is the best feeling ever, and I couldn't be more proud.
And the good feeling of having contributed pervaded the entire Leopard roster as Coach Brashear reaped the reward of such a lopsided match to substitute liberally throughout and get all of her players a taste of state title game action. But in her final analysis, her thoughts turned back to her senior core and the accomplishments of Black, Spickler, Moran, Holly Winders, and Julia Pepper.
It's been an amazing ride. You know, from day one, they were driven. You know, they wanted to get back to the state championship game. They wanted to win 3. You know, and they were motivated from day one. And they've been a lot of fun to work with. Very coachable kids, and you know, they have the heart of a champion. Every one of them do, and it's been a pleasure to be their coach.
Congratulations to Coach Brashear and the Leopards. Now, on to the volleyball awards. And first, the Player of the Year. And I'd certainly be remiss not to mention the Heritage Academy duo of freshman Michaela Hoy and junior Chloe Prejean, who led the Eagles to a 24-4 record and the Maryland Christian State Tournament title, where Prejean was voted the MVP. I'd also be less than conclusive in my considerations without putting Williamsport setter Sammy Raitt in the discussion. Raitt was third in the county in assists per set, but it was her aptitude and leadership as a senior setter on a team with 2 juniors and a freshman hitter that might only be quantified by the stats that Bryn Lewis, Devin Grossbeck, and Kiera Lewis put up respectively. Oh, and the Wildcats' 13-5 record that included victories over North Hagerstown and Smithsburg, matches in which her team was the underdog. Raitt will continue her career next season at California University of Pennsylvania. The University of North Carolina Greensboro will be the new volleyball home of Megan Moran next fall. Fresh off signing her Division I letter of intent and winning a state championship, Moran's senior season couldn't have ended better. During it, she topped the county in blocks per set, and among public school players, she ranked second in points per set and third in kills per set. The 6-foot middle blocker was a major force all year and a major reason the Leopards repeated as 1A state champions. However, no one was quite as impressive as the super athletic outside hitter who wears the same number at North Hagerstown. Senior Jayla Bell paced all county public school players in points per set, was tops overall in kills per set, and led the Hubs in digs and aces. In fact, Bell's serves became almost non-returnable as the season progressed, helping make her a truly remarkable all-around performer. She proved to be dangerous from anywhere on the court with the ball in the air, too, and was unquestionably North's go-to player when the Hubs had to have a point. Case in point, Bell almost single-handedly turned a 2-1 deficit at Smithsburg into a 3-2 North Hagerstown win. She willed the Hubs to a 14-3 mark this season and will continue her career at Shepherd University next fall. Congratulations to the 2015 Inside Sports Volleyball Player of the Year, Jayla Bell. Our Coach of the Year is no stranger to the award. She was co-coach of the year last season, but this time around, she gets it all to herself after leading her Smithsburg Leopards through an 18-2 campaign that culminated with her 6th state title as head coach, which ties her for the most all-time by a county head coach. I asked Rachel Brashear what the significance of that is to her.
I went to camps with Cindy Nuckenbauer, you know what I mean? So I knew her, you know, and I knew, she had won a bunch. I really didn't even know that I tied that. I didn't know how many anybody won. But, you know, I come from a county of great coaches, you know, so I have to live up to that expectation, you know, and so it means a lot even to be mentioned in those names. You know, that means a lot to me, so.
Congrats on an achievement of historical proportions and on being the 2015 Inside Sports Volleyball Coach of the Year to Rachel Brashear. Stay where you are. Andy Mason joins me to help hand out the Cross Country Awards right after this.
Yeah, how can we help you today? I really need to get back to work.
Whether it's going back to work or getting back on the golf course, Total Rehab Care maximizes every patient's individual potential, offering state-of-the-art rehab, including physical, occupational, and speech therapy, all in one location. Experts who take a personal interest in their patients' progress. Call or visit online for more information. Meritus Health, treating the community well.
Welcome back to our 2015 Fall Sports Awards Show. I'm joined now by Andy Mason, sports editor for the Herald Mail. And Andy, let's make clear to everybody here that the awards that are presented today are exclusive to Inside Sports, meaning that the Herald Mail will do what it always does.
Right, yeah, our all-county teams will be in the newspaper and online at heraldmailmedia.com running December 7th through the 13th.
Yeah, so some may be the same that you see here today,
we'll
but
see.
Some may be different.
Yeah, you never know.
So we're not giving anything away that will be in the Herald Mail upcoming. Let's go right to those cross-country awards. And the boys award, boy, this is a tough one. I mean, I've mulled it over. I mean, you can really drill down on this thing so many different ways, but Darren Harmon of South Hagerstown and Will Merritt of Smithsburg certainly are the two finalists.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they sort of separated themselves, but, they're at the end, it's hard to separate. Let's start with Merritt. Merritt was the Washington County champion. He beat Darren Harmon to win the Washington County title. Then he goes on and wins the 1A West Region title and the state title.
Pretty good case there.
Pretty good case. However, Harmon and Merritt raced 7 times this year. Head-to-head, Harmon won 6 of them. Average margin of victory, almost 30 seconds in each of those 6 wins. They raced 3 other days at the same meet, but in different divisions, big and small school. And on all 3 of those days, Harmon was faster, including the state meet.
And Harmon at the state meet, how impressive was what he did there, even though he came up just short in your mind?
Oh, it was really impressive. He's down 20 yards with 200 yards left, and he just, incredible kick, photo finish. He loses by hundredths of a second, 16:14.8. He tied with the kid from Northern Calvert. So he sort of tied for the second best time of the whole day. Only the 4A champ was faster. Just an incredible, incredible race.
Yeah, new PRs for both of these guys throughout the course of the season. You look at what they did at the state meet individually, and it's a little bit of apples to oranges. I mean, we have 1A versus 3A, Merritt versus Harmon in those respects. Merritt improving upon what he did at states last year by 45 seconds. Harmon improving by 56 seconds. So again, we're looking at seconds. We're looking at tenths of seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really getting down to the minutia of all of this.
Right.
And when I broke it down in the end, one of the things that I looked at was last year, Darren Harmon as a junior was the Inside Sports Male Cross Country Runner of the Year. I don't think he did anything to lose that title this year. Merritt did a tremendous job of improving as the season went along. Right. But I think in the final analysis, and as you mentioned, with all those head-to-head meetings, you have to look at the entire body of work, not just the end of the season. Merritt gets the big prize, individual state champion. He'll get a chance to come back next year. This was it for Darren Harmon. And to me, and as far as Inside Sports, he's also the 2015 Male Cross Country Runner of the Year.
Yeah, well, he's a solid pick for that.
Yeah. So, and we certainly established that. Over on the girls' side, I think it was a little easier, with all due respect to all of the girls in the county. Haley Wright certainly is the choice there. There's no mystery.
Oh, I mean, it'd be a crime if it went to anyone else. I mean, it couldn't go to anyone else.
Well, I don't want to be considered criminal.
Yeah, I mean, Haley Wright, she was in a class of her own in Washington County. She didn't lose to anyone else in the county all season. She won several invitational titles, ended the year as the Washington County champion. She won convincingly, even though she took a few wrong turns, and she convincingly ends the season with wins in the 1A West Region meet and the state meet. Great season. What's interesting about Haley is this was her 3rd year cross country, and her 2nd straight undefeated season among county. No one from the county beat her for 2 straight years, and her 1st year as a sophomore, the only girl who beat her in the county was her own teammate Megan Grams.
Wow.
So she never got, no one from any other team outside of Megan Grams, her teammate, ever finished in front of her in any meet.
That is incredible. Yeah. And I didn't realize that. And speaking of her team, Becky Walter is the Inside Sports Coach of the Year for the 5th time in 6 years on Inside Sports.
Oh, man. Well, how could it go to anyone else? Boonesboro swept the team 1A boys and girls team titles. I mean, you can't do more than that. You end the season with 2 team titles.
Yeah, and it's only the 2nd time it's ever happened in the county, and she did it both times.
Yeah, 2012, Boonesboro did it under Walter. Then the last 2 seasons, they were in 2A, much more competitive. They come back to 1A, great teams again, and they step up and win. Now the girls, her boys were the favorites. They did what they had to do. They were the class of the county all season, and they ran, won states. But the girls, going to that state meet, Smithsburg was the favorite.
Yeah.
They were the defending champs. They'd beaten Boonesboro more times than not over the season, but Boonesboro peaked the right day. They had their best race of the season on the right day, and they won the county or state title.
Yeah, so congratulations to all of the Inside Sports cross-country winners. And again, the Herald Mail with all of its county teams and players and coaches of the year. Look for them again December 7th through the 13th. Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. I've got soccer, the awards to hand out there, girls and boys alike, and Kevin Dunleavy joins me for that in just a moment. Welcome back to the Inside Sports Fall Award Show. I'm joined now by Kevin Dunleavy of the Herald Mail to talk about the boys and girls soccer winners for 2015. And Kevin, let me start with the girls first. And there, I think you got a number of worthy contenders. It just depends on what you're looking for. And it's kind of apples to oranges. You have those players who are kind of the engines for their teams. Anna Scheck at North Hagerstown, Fiona Zahm at Smithsburg, Erin McVicker at Williamsport. Or do you want a goalkeeper? I mean, for my money this year, Maddie Foltz, the sophomore at North Hagerstown, was the best that I saw. 0.81 goals against average, 9 shutouts this season. And then if you want a goal scorer, a couple at North Hagerstown, sophomores in Lexi Pate and Allie Getz. There was Leanne Ludwig at St. James, who had a terrific season. Taylor Neff at Williamsport scored 12, the Wildcats 27 goals. But I go to Kara Poole at Smithsburg. I always hesitate to go to a freshman, but she was more than advertised this season for the Leopards. A total of 40 points for the season, 16 goals in 14 games. I just didn't see a player who had her skill set and was able to put the ball in the net the way she did this year.
Yeah, I had one coach tell me that she was the best player that he saw in 6 years in the county. And she moved around the field a lot. She played up top. She played in the midfield. Whatever they asked her to do, she did, and did it brilliantly. She was fun to watch, spectacular player.
Yeah, very, very high praise for Kara Poole from anybody who saw her this year, and she is the Inside Sports Girls Soccer Player of the Year. As far as the coach, her coach, Victor Delamea, our two-time reigning Inside Sports Coach of the Year, a season that I don't know that a lot of people saw coming. I mean, 12 wins, only 3 losses, 1 tie. Of those losses, only 1 came in regulation, and somehow I still gravitate away from him here to Chris Lance at Boonesboro, who returns to the Warriors, gets them 6 more wins than the year before, and really was able to implement his style there, and eventually Boonesboro caught on.
Yeah, you really look at the way they started, and they lost a lot of players from last year, even though they weren't coming off a good season. And he really got them in the defensive mindset. That's what he stresses, and they played it fantastically. I mean, they shut out almost all their wins came by shutout, and it was really a team effort shutout. You know, those shutouts not product of great goalkeeping, but really just tremendous defense.
Yeah, 9 of their 10 wins via the shutout, as you point out, and also just the way the team started the season.
Yeah.
1-2, but it was the ugliest 1-2 you'd ever want to see.
Yeah, 2 losses, combined 11-0 in a span of 3 days. That might be deflating to other teams, but Chris somehow got the girls to believe, and once they turned it around, they felt like they were unbeatable. Then they lost in the playoffs in kind of a flukish, weird game. They weren't a 6-1. The result was 6-1, but they weren't. Wasn't a 6-1 game at all.
And they were unbeaten in 8 of those last 9. So Chris Lance, our girls Inside Sports Coach of the Year. As for the boys and Player of the Year, really looked at the private school players there who stood out to me. Ryan Zaniach and James Searcy of St. Maria Goretti, but to me they kind of canceled each other out. Zaniach 22 assists this season to go along with 11 goals. Searcy 20 goals to go along with 3 assists. 44 and 43 points respectively. But to me, it's Harrison Barger of Grace Academy who really does it for a second year in a row, this time as a junior. 26 goals, a county high, 7 assists, and 59 points. He had a hand in 59% of the goals that his team scored this season, and they won 13 games. So I'd go with Harrison Barger as the boys' Inside Sports Soccer Player of the Year.
Yeah, excellent choice, and there weren't many options among the public school players, so I agree with that one. The thing I like about him is he wears horn-rimmed glasses, which I did when I was playing sports in high school, and so I got to go with I got to approve of him, and really an excellent athlete, all-around player. Plays basketball, not real gifted in basketball, but just turns his athleticism into being a really valuable defensive player.
Terrific baseball player, too,
yes,
by the way.
very much so.
And our boys' coach of the year, Chris Downs at Williamsport, coming back this season, made some tough decisions right from the start on that team, and it really panned out as they go 11-6 overall, win the county title. Just a great season for Williamsport, a bounce-back year for the Wildcats.
Yeah, he really got the team back together after having a really rough year. And you could almost see it coming because they were a young team last year with some talent. But he really put it together. And then they had a lot of adversity this year. They had some injuries. They had a lot of things didn't go right for them. And they ended up, winning the county championship and really having a solid year. Without a question, the best team in the county this year, public school-wise.
At 8-2 in games decided by 1 goal, and a lot of that does have to do with coaching. Chris Downs, our boys' Inside Sports Coach of the Year. Kevin, thank you very much.
You, Wes.
See you back for winter previews coming up in a couple of weeks. And if you want to find out who Kevin has picked as far as his soccer players of the year and coaches of the year and the all-county teams, they're coming up in the Herald Mail the 10th and 11th of December. I'll be back right after this. The show continues with Bob Parsaliti and football in just a moment.
Tony's Pizza in Williamsport has had the same simple philosophy since 1985. Start with simple products. Sauce from the best Italian tomatoes. The best cheese and dough made fresh every day. Then mix those with a great atmosphere, and you'll have the best dining experience you can find. Tony's is known for their pasta dishes, subs, pizzas, and specialty items like their Nutella Dots and the famous Crazy Tony. Simply put, they want to give the best food they can give to their customers. So stop in today to Tony's Pizza in Williamsport.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, presented by Meritus Health Urgent Care and Total Rehab. Time for our final awards of the 2015 fall sports season. And on the show now, Bob Parsaliti joins me. Bob, of course, the face of football all season long from the Herald Mail. And Bob, let's begin with the Offensive Player of the Year. And the guys that I really looked at, Joe McCoy from Clear Spring. Tremendous season for the junior running back, carrying for 1,764 yards, averaging over 176 yards per game. And in weeks 7 and 8, put together consecutive performances where he ran for at least 300 yards and 3 scores. No way that you could deny McCoy being one of the finalists here by any means. Then T.J. Peer, the senior quarterback at South Hagerstown. I think he had a season very similar to last year, but certainly coming off the setback that he had in the offseason. Pretty good year overall, I think, 1,112 yards passing, 15 touchdowns through the air, and then running for another 10 touchdowns, and then kicking for 40 points on the season. You don't have guys who do that many things as successfully as TJ did this season. And John Mechie at St. James, I think, really came out of nowhere there. I mean, a sophomore wide receiver, played some running back this season too, was terrific in both roles this season for the Saints. Got banged up a lot, but still amassed 1,650 total yards from scrimmage, averaged 13.9 yards per touch on offense this season. So those are some of the guys that I looked at, in addition to his quarterback, Tyler Raymond, who just put together another season for the record books. And for me, Raymond is the guy that I selected and Inside Sports has selected as the Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, the first 3 guys, they were like the spark plugs of that team in a way, their teams. Joe McCoy, if he didn't run well and get going, Clear Spring had a tough time winning. T.J. Peer, those were a lot of numbers, and they were similar to last year. And the thing you got to remember about him, too, is the idea that he's the guy that really runs that offense. I mean, there's been a lot of occasions where Toby Peer, his coach, would say, okay, here's 3 plays, you pick them up as we go out, and he would call them. So, I mean, he basically called the game a lot of times. So he did a lot of things that implemented the success that South High had, and they just didn't have the same strength of team as they had last year. And then you look at Messi, John Messi, just he did whatever they needed. I mean, he was a running back. He's not a running back. He's a receiver, but they didn't really have anybody run the ball. Now you put all those three together, and they all had big reasons to be there. But when you look at Tyler Raymond, I mean, you're right. He put all the numbers together. He's as smooth a quarterback as you'll see in the area.
2,418 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, averaged 12.3 yards per attempt. So an awfully good season, and one that we reward here.
He shattered the county yard record, because it was 2006 by Adam Malott from Clear Spring a couple of years ago, and he reset his own record for touchdown passes in a year. So I mean, and he's only halfway done. He's got 2 more years yet.
That's right. Awfully impressive. On the defensive side of the ball, I think, first of all, you have to go to Boonesboro, the team that was the stingiest defensively during the season. Jared Tribbett, the junior linebacker, just a sensational year, led the stingiest defensive team that gave up only 5.4 points per game this season, allowed in tackles and interceptions. Dylan Bodenheimer, senior defensive lineman, seemed like every time I was calling a game this year, he was making a big play in the backfield. 16 tackles for loss this season as Boonesboro pitches 5 shutouts this year. Dre Richmond of South Hagerstown, senior linebacker there, the county leader in tackles, second in tackles for loss, also added a pair of sacks this season. Returned an interception for a touchdown in the game against Westminster. Sam Haynes of Hancock, defensive lineman there, senior, led the county in sacks. Bryce Scott at Smithsburg, moving to linebacker this season, the senior, tremendous there, leading that team in tackles. But I think when you get right down to it, the numbers for his teammate, Cole Huntsberry, really leading a Smithsburg team this season by taking the football away from other teams. School record 10 interceptions, and that was just sort of the mantra of those guys in the defensive backfield for Smithsburg, epitomized by Cole Huntsberry, the Inside Sports Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, all those guys that you said in the beginning part of this, again, had impact. I think with Boonesboro, they were a team that had really no stars that were outshining everybody else. They worked so well together. So, I mean, one stat kind of fell into the other stat and that. But when you come down and you talk about it, I mean, the Jets have Revis Island. I guess you got Huntsberry Haven over in Smithsburg. Because, the couple of times that I saw them play, teams started to shy away from throwing to that side of the field where he was. And anytime there was something there, he had some way of getting to the ball or some way of making the interception. Earlier in the season, I'd written something about their backfield in one of my notebooks, and the whole idea is if it's up in the air, it's ours. And he epitomized that.
Yeah, no question about that. And our Coach of the Year on Inside Sports, Clayton Andrews of Boonesboro. To me, that's basically a slam dunk. 10-0. Here's a guy who coached 316 games before this year, 30 seasons worth, had never had a 10-0 regular season. I know they wind up 10-1, and the competitor in him said to you when the season was over, rather be 6-4 and win that playoff game than 10-0 and lose it.
Well, and that was really a rough game to lose the way they went out. But Clayton, at the beginning of the year, I think he knew he had something, but he was a little skeptical because they didn't seem to be practicing well. And that was about the time I did my preview with him. And slowly but surely they rounded into shape because, I mean, they didn't look that good against Catoctin the very first game, and that was that rain game where it was split days. But they slowly but surely, and I think they started coming around right at FSK, which was their second game, and they got the shutout to start it out. Right then and there, I think they realized they had something if they worked together. And that team, for as good as it was a total team effort for them to get anywhere.
And I think it was a total team effort on that coaching staff, too.
Yeah.
I know that he would give a lot of accolades to the guys that he surrounded himself with, and so will I. Thanks to all of the Herald Mail insiders for being here throughout the course of the fall sports season. Thanks a lot, Bob, and we'll look for what you have in terms of football coming up. I know the Herald Mail will have all of its county teams, players, and coaches December 7th through the 13th, so we'll look for it on newsstands and online, and we'll look for all of you back as we have our winter sports preview, the first part of that coming up next week. This concludes the fall sports season. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and thanks so much for watching. See you next time on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.